In a league built on loyalty, some players chose betrayal. They skipped practices, they ignored calls, they turned their own teams into headlines. It wasn't about money, it was about power. These are the players who straight up told their teams, "I'm not playing." Starting with Jimmy Butler. Before playoff Jimmy became a Miami legend, he was a nightmare in Minnesota. It started in the summer of 2018. The Timberwolves had two young stars, Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, and one alpha who didn't trust either of them. Butler had carried that team to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years, but behind the scenes, he was done. He'd asked for a trade before the season even started. The front office ignored it. They thought he'd cool off. Instead, Butler turned their entire franchise into a hostage situation. When training camp rolled around, he didn't show up. Then one random morning in October, he did, but not to apologize. Jimmy walked into practice with a third-string bench unit, guys who barely got off the pine, and proceeded to destroy the starters. He screamed at the management, humiliated Towns and Wiggins, and yelled at GM Scott Layden, "You fucking need me." It wasn't just a meltdown, it was a statement. Hours later, he sat down for an ESPN interview, still sweating from practice, and told Rachel Nichols everything. Called out his teammates' effort, mocked the front office, and basically told the world, "I'm out." The next day, the Wolves' locker room was a crater. The season hadn't even started, and everyone knew it was over. When Butler finally took the floor for Minnesota, fans booed him in their own arena. He didn't care. He balled out, screaming at teammates mid-game like he was trying to prove one last point before leaving. Behind the scenes, it was chaos. Towns and Wiggins didn't speak to him. Thibodeau, who had coached Butler in Chicago, begged ownership not to trade him. The front office held emergency meetings while reporters camped outside the facility like it was a crime scene. Every day, Butler showed up. He turned practice into psychological warfare, dominating scrimmages, calling out soft habits, and daring anyone to challenge him. The Timberwolves tried to find him, tried to suspend him, even tried to silence his story. Nothing worked. Meanwhile, trade talks dragged on for weeks. Miami thought they had a deal. Then, it collapsed. Houston offered 4 first-round picks, and Minnesota still said no. The tension built until the Wolves had no leverage left, and no locker room left either. Finally, after just 10 games, they caved. Butler was shipped to Philadelphia for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Jared Bayless, and a second-round pick. His final game as a Timberwolf? A win, where he dropped 32 points and blew kisses to the crowd on his way out. But that wasn't the end. In Philly, Butler was calmer, but colder, testing teammates like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to see who was built for the moment. He nearly took the Sixers to the finals, falling only to Kawhi's miracle bounce. Then he left again, heading to Miami, the one place that actually fit him. No more pretending to get along, no more kids who didn't care enough. In Miami, every player ran suicides, lifted at 5 a.m., and fought for minutes like their rent depended on it. For the first time in his career, Jimmy didn't have to demand accountability. It was already there. And that infamous Minnesota practice, it became part of NBA mythology. The day Jimmy Butler stopped being misunderstood and started being feared. But as wild as that story was, it wasn't the last time a player told his team, "I'm not playing." The next one took it even further, by sitting out for nearly a year. In 2021, Ben Simmons became the most expensive spectator in basketball. The Sixers had just choked away a playoff series to Atlanta, and the whole world saw the play. Game 7, 4th quarter. Simmons spun past Danilo Gallinari, right under the rim, and froze. He pump faked an open dunk, and passed it to Matisse Thybulle. That single hesitation became a national headline. Philly fans lost their minds. Joel Embiid called it a turning point. When reporters asked Doc Rivers if Simmons could be the point guard of a championship team, his response, "I don't know," echoed louder than any dunk Ben ever threw down. That sentence broke everything. By the time training camp arrived, Simmons wasn't talking to anyone. No calls, no texts, no workouts. His agent Rich Paul told the Sixers he was done. Philly called his bluff. They started fining him $360,000 per missed game. He lost millions. Still, he didn't show. The tension turned surreal. Teammates literally boarded a private jet to LA to talk him into returning, and Simmons refused to even open the door. That wasn't stubbornness. That was a full shutdown. When he finally did report weeks later, it somehow got worse. He came to practice with his phone in his pocket, refused to join the defensive drill, and got kicked out by Doc Rivers. The next morning, he was suspended. Simmons then told the team he wasn't mentally ready to play. Philly didn't buy it. They thought it was just another stall tactic. The situation spiraled into league investigations, meetings with team doctors, and non-stop headlines. Every Sixers home game felt like a trial. Fans booed him even when he wasn't in the arena. Jerseys were burned. Talk radio became daily therapy sessions for a city that had finally lost patience. Meanwhile, the Sixers were winning without him. Tyrese Maxey stepped up. Embiid played the best basketball of his life. The message was clear. The team had moved on. And yet, the standoff dragged into the winter. 8 months of silence, fines, and awkward press conferences. Simmons stayed alone in an empty gym, waiting for a deal that never seemed close. When it finally came in February 2022, it was massive. Simmons and picks for James Harden. Philly celebrated like they just traded a ghost for a superstar. But the comeback that everyone expected from Simmons never arrived. His debut with Brooklyn was delayed by back pain, then by mental readiness. When he finally played, he looked like a different person, hesitant, quiet, and afraid to shoot. His confidence, once his hidden superpower, had vanished. The decline was hard to watch. From all-star to bench role, from next LeBron to trade rumor, from a max contract to whispers about early retirement. What started as a standoff to protect his pride turned into a career nosedive. And while Simmons' silence was deafening, the message it sent was louder. Sometimes, refusing to play doesn't just end your season. It can rewrite your entire legacy. Because in the end, Philly got what it wanted. Embiid became an MVP, the fans found closure. And Ben Simmons, he didn't just sit out a season. He sat out his own redemption arc. And while that feud burned slow in public, the next story, Vince Carter's, was personal. It wasn't about money. It was about betrayal. In the early 2000s, Vince Carter was turned on to basketball. The dunks, the All-Star votes, the Olympic poster on Frederick Wise, Vince made Canada cool. But by 2004, that love story had turned sour. Behind the highlight reels, Carter was clashing with the front office. The Raptors had promised roster help, promised to build a contender around him, and every offseason, they failed. Draft picks were wasted. Coaches came and went. Carter watched stars like Tracy McGrady and Damon Stoudemire leave, and realized he was next. By summer, Vince wanted out. Publicly, he said he'd always loved Toronto. Privately, he was done. When his trade requests went nowhere, Carter made his feelings clear on the court by not trying. His effort nosedived. He averaged his fewest points since his rookie year. Reporters noticed him jogging through games. Fans started booing their hero. And then came the leak. Carter admitted in a TV interview that he hadn't played hard before the trade. That was it. Raptors fans felt betrayed. But the front office wasn't innocent either. They'd stopped communicating with their franchise player and left him stranded in mediocrity. Carter had gone from the most exciting young star in basketball to a man counting down the days. By December, Toronto finally pulled the trigger, trading him to the New Jersey Nets for Alonzo Mourning, Aaron Williams, and Eric Williams. Mourning refused to even report. Toronto got scraps. And just like that, Air Canada became public enemy number one. In New Jersey, Vince looked reborn, dropping 27 a night, throwing down reverse windmills again, and hitting buzzer beaters against, of course, the Raptors. Every dunk in a Nets jersey felt like salt in an open wound. Toronto fans booed him for years. Every return game was venom. Signs that read traitor. Every time he touched the ball, the boos rumbled like thunder. But time has a strange way of rewriting stories. As Carter aged, something shifted. He didn't run from his past. He embraced it. He stayed in the league longer than anyone expected, becoming a mentor, a veteran voice, the exact kind of leader Toronto never gave him. When he finally returned years later, this time as an Atlanta Hawk, something magical happened. The boos stopped. Fans stood up. Cheers echoed through the Air Canada Centre as Vince raised his hand and nodded in appreciation. Closure. Vince Carter's refusal to play wasn't about money or ego. It was heartbreak. The slow, painful breakup of a player and a city that loved each other too much. He wanted to win. Toronto wanted loyalty. Both sides felt betrayed. And decades later, that story still lingers. The reminder that even legends can fall out of love with a game when trust disappears. From Jimmy Butler's explosive practice to Ben Simmons' silent standoff and Vince Carter's quiet rebellion, refusing to play isn't just about ego. It's about power, trust, and pride colliding in public. Every player says basketball is a business until it costs them their legacy. And maybe that's the real lesson in all this. In the NBA, refusing to play might get you what you want, but it can also cost you everything.